It's now 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and adjourn not adjourn, but start the meeting, the special school board meeting. Today's date is April 6th, 2022. I appreciate all the audience, all the members of the audience showing up tonight. Thank you very much. And we'll just go ahead and get started, and we'll do agenda item number 1, which is adoption of the agenda as submitted. And this is for possible action, so there will be room or time for public comment before we vote. I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees adopt the agenda as submitted.
Second by Laurel, by Don. And we'll go ahead and open up for public comment. Any in-person public comment? Seeing none. Well, the agenda number 1, which is the approval of the agenda. Can everybody out in the hallway hear us? You're good? You can hear? Okay. Any online public comment?
No, Mr. Varner, thank you.
Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Seeing none, motion carries. If everybody would join me for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3. Discussion and possible action on the next steps in the search for selecting the Carson City School District Superintendent, resulting from the withdrawal of the application of the previously appointed candidate. The board will discuss whether to reopen the recruitment process, offer the position to the second choice of existing applicants using the contract terms previously approved, or take some other action aimed at filling the superintendent position. Approval of offering of the position to the second choice applicant would have a fiscal impact up to $170,000 plus the cost of benefits attendant to that position. And this is for possible action, so there will be public comment before the vote is taken. What I'll do now is open it up for discussion to the board. If anybody would like to start the discussion. Joe?
Well, thanks everybody for showing up. I guess if we want an audience, we just have to have some controversy. So, no, this is serious. It's a serious time. It's a serious position. I know there's folks out here that are going to probably be on both sides of this issue, if you will, and hopefully we can have some reasonable discussion with the board, reasonable input from the public, and we know we're going to hear things that we may or may not agree with from the public and everybody, and I just hope we can have civil conversation. There's a lot of people in the room. And anyway, so with that, we all know why we're here now. Whether or not you're happy with the way things went the last meeting, this is where we're at, and we've got 2 options or more in front of us. And so what I'm trying to do is just look forward here. And as I see it, like it says on the motion, we got a couple of options. And I guess to the trustees and the public, as we go forward, or as we got to here, some of the concerns I've heard, and I was one of those concerns, was the process in general. There was question as to whether or not, how well represented we were. For those that maybe weren't part of this, we hired a third party to help us through the advertisements, through the vetting process, and basically took us to the point where then we could do interviews, and they helped us in selecting some interview questions, kind of a pool of questions. And there was some discussion as to whether or not thorough vetting was done, whether or not we were represented to the degree we expected to be. I could say me as a board member, I had some concerns as well, but I take responsibility for some of that. Maybe we should have been a bit more clear in our expectations if that is a concern. So as I go forward and I look at what we're trying to do here, do we pick the runner-up candidate or do we go forward? One of the things that I've been just thinking about all week is if we're concerned that the process wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't smooth, but if we have concerns about the process and how we got here and how we made our initial vote to move the first candidate forward, and we feel that things weren't properly vetted, then I have to question, if it wasn't good for that process, is it good to move the next candidate up? And if not, then I have to consider, do we start the process over again? Starting the process over again, as I run it through my head, and I'm not covering all the aspects of it, but we cannot just advertise next week. We'd have to start this process over again. There's other districts that are in the process of hiring superintendents, but to start over again, now, we would not get anybody, I don't think. And so what we would have to do is appoint an interim superintendent and then start the advertisement process over again in the fall or whenever it makes sense to do it. So we'd be a year out with a new superintendent. The interim superintendent, we'd have to look at how do we select that person. I can tell you in our district, we have one current associate superintendent. So, I'd have to look in that direction. And then the other side of me is like, look, if this process was not, if it wasn't great, but it really wasn't that bad, and, then we can go with the interim superintendent. So I am interested in hearing comments from everybody out here and see what the general thought is. I guess in my head, I've heard from at least 4 trustees that the process was questionable in how it got us here. And for that reason, currently, I'm leaning towards maybe we need to reopen things. But I have not made a final decision yet in my head. The hamster's still kind of spinning on the wheel. So I'll leave it there for now.
Mike?
I think that when you're talking about vetting candidates, we had 3 internal candidates who were all qualified for this position. I think we had one who needed a little bit more district level experience, and then 2 candidates who are ready to lead a school district. And so I don't think that we're needing that our internal candidates were not vetted. So I don't think that should be an issue because we know the work of Tasha and AJ. We've never questioned the quality of their work. We've never had issues with their character. So I find them both of high quality and worthy of the job. And so I don't think that we need to say our internal candidates weren't vetted because we know these individuals. We work with these individuals.
Thank you, Mike. Stacy, did you have anything?
Just like Joe said, I've since the main thing was that everybody was talking that the process was flawed, kind of like to look at that aspect. I know the timeline's not good. If we had to have an interim, then the new trustees would have a vote in the superintendent. I think that's an aspect to look at. But I think we have very qualified candidates here in our district too. So I could go either way. I'm kind of waiting to see what everybody else thinks and wants to do.
Dawn?
I don't think there's any surprise what I'm going to say. We get a mulligan. We get a mulligan for making a major mistake. We need to make AJ Fueling the next superintendent of this school district.
Okay, let's get back to order, please. Thank you, guys. Dawn? Thank you. Lupe?
So I respectfully understand, that we do have qualified individuals in our district. However, I do know that our community is asking for a change, and we are here to listen to our community, and most importantly, offer our students an opportunity to, excel. I know we have excellent programs, but we always have room for improvement. And so my vote would be to reopen the position and meanwhile have an interim serve in that role.
Thank you, Lupe. Laurel, you have anything?
I think the concerns, I would agree with Mike that we had 3 very qualified internal candidates who have been fully vetted. There's no questions with them. We know their evaluation. We have access to their evaluations. We know their work history. We know all of that. So I'm comfortable with going forward with one of our internal candidates. The concerns I have with reopening the position is the need for stability within the district. We currently are short-staffed at the district office with the resignation of Associate Superintendent Delphin. And we're coming up on the hiring season for teachers and getting prepared for the next school year. So I have concerns that reopening it, even if we waited 6 months to do that, we'd still have the same great candidates from internally that we have. And I understand that there are some people who want change. And I think the thing to remember is that anyone who steps in, if it is an internal candidate, it's still going to be change. It's going to be somebody who does something different than what Mr. Stokes did, because it's someone who has different strengths, perhaps different weaknesses. So I would lean towards, if we are reopening it, I would lean towards reopening it for internal candidates. Or if there's a desire to go forward, I would do that. But at this point, I'm not decided.
Thank you. I personally would be opposed to reopening it. We felt good enough with the process to offer the position to the previous candidate, and we did do that. We offered a contract. It was his choice to not accept the contract, the terms of the contract. So I think if the process was good enough to move forward offering one candidate the position, I feel very, very good about offering the position to the second choice candidate. I think Mr. Fueling would be an excellent superintendent. I think that he has a proven track record here. I don't want to start the process, my personal opinion, I don't want to start the process all over again. This has been a very hard process, not only for the board, for the staff, for the community, and I think we have a very qualified candidate that we can move forward with. So, yes, go ahead, Mike.
And I just want to say, when it comes to community wanting change, I've heard from many people who were in favor of our internal candidates. And so I can't imagine that I'm the only one on this board who have heard from all of these teachers, administrators, staff members in this district. And so I think there's a lot of concern because Mr. Stokes has led this district for a very long time. And so that change, I think our staff is concerned about that as well as the community. But I have heard nothing from people who work within the district but support for all of our internal candidates. And so I would just say I'm shocked if I'm the only one who has heard such things.
Laurel?
I would say you're not. I have heard the same support for, and going through the process with what we did, my top picks were our internal candidates, and I thought in so many ways they outperformed the other applicants and had more to offer to our district. So Dawn and Richard have indicated that if the desire is to go forward with AJ, I would be fully supportive of that.
Rich,
Go ahead.
oh, thanks. And I appreciate everybody's comments. And I'll tell you, I just told you guys kind of where I'm leaning right now. And I don't want this by any means, and I think I said this on that one meeting when I was out, I have nothing but good things to say about Mr. Fueling. I've worked with him on a number of things. I've consulted with him, learned about finances. He's a top-notch person. He's got moral character. He really is not a controversial person. He's just in a controversial discussion right now. So however I vote, if my vote is not to move forward with the second, it really has not much of anything to do with Mr. Fueling. I hold him in the highest respect. I think, he would learn that position as any of us who were qualified would learn that position over time. But I have heard from a lot of people as well. And what I've heard, it hasn't been quite so decisive. Whether I'm looking at just staff emails or just public emails, the last year with everything has been just split 50-50, 60-40, pick your numbers, but nothing's been decisive. And so when I look at all the reasons that people were giving, I think some had valid points on both sides of the issues, some not so much. But I tried to listen to everybody, and I listened to the board and how we, just the different concerns as we were going through this process. And that's kind of why I'm at where I'm at right now is it, in my opinion, has not been so cut and dry. But I don't want anybody, especially up here, to think my respect for Mr. Fueling isn't anything but the highest level. It's just I'm trying to weigh my voice with the voices I've heard and the process we went through.
Thank you, Joe. Any other comment right now? I would just add that if we opened up the position again, I'm not sure we'd get any better candidates than we had that we already examined, for lack of a better term. And the board chose to go with the first candidate first, and then we picked the second candidate, which happened to be Mr. Fueling. So I'm in favor. I think he made the second choice, and I'd be in favor, like I said, moving forward. I was a strong advocate to begin with of change. And then as I think back through my career, we've had different directors that came in, and they didn't always make it better. Sometimes it got worse for the department or for the division. And so I know they have mentoring programs that we could send the second choice through with NAS, the Nevada Association of School Superintendents. They have a national organization that mentors new superintendents. And I think that with the board's direction of what we would like to see happen in the future, we could direct that and set those goals and ensure that they're met. And if not, then we hold him accountable. Stacy?
So I would reiterate everything we've said about AJ. Moral character, he could do the job. But the whole reason that this thing blew up last time was because the process was flawed, was kept safe. We weren't vetted right. We didn't get enough advertising. So it makes me wonder if we did get the best candidates. And this late into the season, I know that we can't open it up and get a quality. I understand that. I think we could have a quality interim superintendent. And I think that the holes that you're talking about, Laurel, can be filled by that person, I think we have qualified people to have an interim superintendent. And then I think, like I said before, there's going to be two of us that aren't even going to be on the board at the end of the year. So if we did the process again, it would involve the new trustees. And I think that's an opportunity too.
How can we say that the system was flawed so badly that we can't move forward with a candidate, but we were comfortable moving forward with a candidate? That's two
But
different,
hold on, guys.
that's,
Go ahead, Mike.
you know what I mean? That's contradictory. So it was a good enough process for the initial candidate, but not the secondary candidate. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's not necessarily a fair statement, because there were at least 4 members of the board, you and I included, that questioned the process. And this is a tough decision, I get it, and I completely understand where you're coming from and whatnot, but the system or the process, I heard it several times, it wasn't good, and we went forward after great debate about whether or not we should go forward. And this is why we're here now. And my concern is, I want to make sure in my own mind that if we are going forward, it's good for all candidates. I can tell you we had one internal candidate that expressed concerns that, their references and things like that weren't checked. There were different concerns going, back and forth. I don't want to get into them all now, but in general, we know there were concerns. And so that's why I'm on the fence here, and I'm thinking, that's why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. I'm not fully comfortable going forward, because there were enough holes in the process. Not that the process was completely bad. I think it was equally confusing and messed up for every candidate, if you will. So, anyway, long story short, I don't think it was quite that smooth and silky.
I think though, you were comfortable enough with the process to make the offer, and still comfortable enough with the process to go back last meeting and direct Mr. Varner to make the original offer again. So there was concerns with vetting, because issues came to light during the negotiation process that I think could have and should have been discovered before we got that far into it. But I don't think that detracts from where we got with AJ as well. And I think the interim superintendent position, if what we're looking at is a 1-year contract, that's very similar to an interim, it's a 1-year contract. It's not something, I think if we were to say, oh, we'll put in an interim till next year because there's going to be new trustees, then I think we're not doing our duty, and you're trying to pass it along. If the new trustees come on, if we have somebody who's proven themselves, the contract will be renewed. A 1-year contract is very similar to that as an interim position. So I think, we have a better idea of what we can afford, and we've agreed to terms of a contract. So I don't think that the concerns of I don't have the same vetting concerns with our internal applicants.
Well, and as individual trustees, we voiced concerns with the process, but as a board, we chose to go forward. And so that was the decision. And so we could have at any point restarted a process. We could have fired NASB, which we probably should have done, but we chose to proceed. And so I think to change this now because the first candidate backed out, I just don't think that that's fair to do to our other candidate.
And I do think that, agreed, we, as a board, we voted to go forward. I own my vote, and I stand behind it. But I do think that the way, and we got to be careful going in there because I don't want to get off topic, but the way we set that up, it would have been hard for most candidates to want to go forward.
And then the motion was on the floor right as soon as we did the thing. There wasn't any discussion or anything like that too. It was like you two made the motion and then we looked at the contract. So, and that,
And all of you voted in favor of that motion, except for Dawn, who wasn't here. All of you voted in favor of the motion. If you didn't like the motion, you could have voted no and made a new motion. But you voted in favor of the motion. Not a person on this board agreed with the proposed contract that was presented. So I think that's a decision that this board made as a board and went back with. But to now say, oh, well, we didn't somehow do fair, you voted in favor of going back with the original proposal.
And I'll tell you folks, because I know that's going to come up during public comment, the fact that a motion was made right away. A motion can be made right away. The open meeting law doesn't say, you have to have discussion, but a motion can be brought forth right away. So, that's as I understand it. But again, we voted to go forward, and now we have to make another decision. And I do think, again, I made the vote, but I am still concerned with the process enough to where I'm on the fence.
I'm not concerned about the vetting of Mr. Fueling, and I really wasn't concerned about the vetting of Dr. Goldhart, because I know that he was vetted. I know his references were checked. We know AJ, he's been here an employee for 8 years. We know what he's capable of, and we know he's of high integrity, high moral standards, etc. So I guess that's all I'll say for now. Don,
I'm going to go ahead with the motion.
go ahead.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve Mr. Andrew Fueling as the next superintendent of the Carson City
Hold on.
School
Hold on.
District and direct the president to offer the terms of the contract approved at the March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Board of Trustees.
No, you'll have public comment before we vote. Did you do a second, Mike?
Folks, nothing has changed from the way we normally vote. We're not gonna call for a vote until there's public comment. It's gonna happen. A motion and a second was made, but a vote's not occurring until we exhaust all public comment. So nothing has changed from the way we typically operate in that regard.
We do have a motion, and we have a second. We will open it for public comment. But I would just like to say, so far, everybody's been respectful, and we have some disagreements probably, but thank you for being respectful, and just continue to do that, please. We'll go ahead and start with in-person public comment. We have some people who have signed up. We have, first one I have here in front of me is Marianne Humphrey. Please come forward and then state your name for the record. Is there a mic up there? On the other side. And just remember, you'll get 3 minutes.
No, I'm aware of that.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Mary Ann Humphrey. I'm going to try to speak very quickly. I was here before when you guys were voting on Dr. Goldhart, and it was pretty appalling. My vision of how when I left this place, it sounded like death warmed over because Ms. Crossman, Mr. Walker, you all acted like somebody, like how horrible this was. This man got voted in. He was sitting out in the lobby, and instead of welcoming him and saying, let's try this. But you guys need to try this. Our kids' education is at jeopardy. You're 28th in the state for being the capital of Nevada is not very good. And it's nice to bring in a change. I loved what you said, Ms. Ramirez, and I agree 100% with you. We need to do something. We need to teach these kids all the basic education and not all this frivolous stuff. It's important for them to get educated so they can compete in our world. but you need to select someone who can come in and bring and knows what they're doing as a superintendent, and not someone that's going to train on a job. Because that's like bringing someone who just graduated from college with an MBA and you expect them to be a CEO of a company. So I vote to bring another person out, not an insider, because you've got to do something to bring change. A lot of corporations will go out to improve their companies, and they'll go out and bring an outsider in instead of hiring within, so they can make their company better. And there's been a lot of places that have done this. A school district is a company in a way, but you can't always just keep hiring within. I've been through a lot myself as in education. I know what it's like to get a lousy education. And my kids had a decent education. I would love to see the kids of the future get a really good education, because that's what's important to me. I don't have kids. My kids are grown. I have grandkids. They're not here, but I care, and I'm a taxpayer. But I care about what our future is going to look like. And kids are very, very important to me. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next would be Jessica Daniels. Is Jessica still out in the hallway? Okay, thank you.
Did she turn it off?
If it's green, it's on, yes.
On?
My name is Jessica Barlow Daniels. I'm the Executive Director Principal of Carson Montessori Charter School. I'm here on behalf of the majority of my staff in support of Mr. A.J. Fueling for the position of superintendent. The expression knowledge is power is used many times to assess the qualifications of potential job applicants. The candidates are rated on their knowledge of knowing the ins and outs of the position, the culture of the area, the staff particulars, the curriculum essentials, the management skills, and the financial expertise that make up a job. Andrew Fueling has this essential knowledge. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need for the wheel to function at its maximum potential to bring about positive change. Mr. Fueling has a vested interest in this community. His children attend the high school, a middle school, and an elementary school. He is genuinely committed to the vision of enhancing positive, progressive educational growth and change. To Mr. Fueling, the students and staff of the schools in Carson City are most important and are always at the forefront of the decisions that he makes. Mr. Fueling is a leader who acts and leads at the highest level of integrity. He is open, above board, and completely transparent. He seeks input, and he shares his level of expertise with an open mind and a willingness to listen. During the last legislative session, when an important piece of legislation that Carson Montessori student legislative team has continuously worked on, the bill on financial literacy, was reintroduced. Mr. Fueling was there to help, taking his level of financial expertise right down to the core of education, the classroom. Carson High was short on teaching staff for that crucial financial literacy curriculum implementation. Mr. Fueling jumped into the classroom to bring hands-on, real-world lessons right to the students. Just as is started and stated in the strategic plan, he actively contributed to strengthen and expand the economic development and sustainable practice of our community and region by helping to create a highly trained and motivated workforce with exceptional thinking, innovation, and leadership skills. Mr. Fueling's impact has reached statewide. The Carson City School District, under the financial leadership of A.J. Fueling, has given support and guidance to the rural districts throughout Nevada, sometimes literally saving them. All of this has been done in addition to his always fulfilling his duties and obligations to the Carson City School District. If people think they can jump in and make changes without an understanding of fiscal dynamics of the state of Nevada, they are mistaken. Is my time up? Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much. All right. We want to hold down on the clapping, but thank you. Next up would be Mr. Richard Nagel.
It grieves me to, hello there, my name is Richard Nagel for the record. It grieves me to say this, but last school board meeting degraded Carson City by disrespecting the open meeting laws and its own code of conduct. Laura Crossman and Mike Walker demonstrated the minority can bully its way through their own ends and rules. In doing so, they violated the code of conduct of the Carson City School Board by not respecting the majority vote. They violated the open meeting laws by revisiting the hiring of Dr. Goldhart, which was not on the agenda. Laura Crossman brought up information about Dr. Goldhart's supposed firing for cause, which was not in the public domain, and waved around a piece of paper that was not distributed to either fellow trustees or the public at large. A clear violation of the open meeting law. I would go on noting several other examples which were filed with the Nevada Attorney General's office. In conclusion, I am respectfully asking for the resignation of Laurel Crossman and Mike Walker from the Carson City School Board for their egregious behavior. And in order to save desperately needed money the school district could spend on the children instead of defending them from the multitude of complaints which are sure to follow. I am submitting my comment to be placed on public record.
Thank you, Richard. Michelle Pedersen. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Michelle Peterson. I have 4 kids, grades 7, 9, 11 in college. We've been in the district for 15 years. Kind of unrelated, but I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Serving on a board is hard. It's a lot of work, physically, mentally, emotionally, as you represent the people. And while I've never spoken up here, I have tried to offer my support online through Facebook comments on posts by the district or news stories about things happening here in our schools. And anyone that spends even a minute browsing public comment on social media will notice one thing: people like to complain. Go to a Facebook page for any fast food chain, and that's all you'll see in the comments is people complaining, demanding to be heard because they weren't served the way they felt entitled to be served. Rarely you'll find someone saying thank you and applauding effort. Constantly being told all the ways that you are failing and being a piñata for people's frustrations is exhausting, emotionally draining, and mentally defeating, especially when you're doing a job that nobody else stuck their neck out to do. I looked back through a lot of the candidate filings for the school board over the past several years. Most of you ran unopposed every year. Nobody else was willing to do this job. You guys are the ones that were willing to wear the weight of an entire school district on your back and carry it forward year after year. You guys were willing to put in the work to ensure that over 7,600 students find academic success. Unfortunately, much like the complaining voices of social media, you guys often have a stream of criticism waiting to be heard here at your board meetings without the balance of positive feedback. Please realize that for every person calling you a failure, there are literally hundreds of parents who quietly support you and are thankful for the work that you're doing. As I spent 10 years myself serving a youth organization of about 650 kids, I had to remind myself that if there were 20, even if there were 20 unhappy people, 97% of the parents and kids were happy. And with the district population being so much larger, you can find peace and satisfaction knowing that even if you have a dozen people here wanting to tell you all the ways that they're unhappy with your service, you have still got a group representing over 99% of your parents who support you and the effort that you put into our children. I do not mean for my comment to imply that upstate people don't have a right to be heard. As an elected public official, hearing from everyone is a part of your job, and we, the people, also have an obligation to communicate with our elected leaders. But for whatever reason, compliments are rarely as free-flowing as criticism, and I apologize on behalf of all of us that do not ensure that you hear those voices and that don't make it a priority to add motivational fuel to your tank. Thank you for your commitment to our children. Thank you for your hard work and dedication. Thank you for everything that you sacrifice. Thank you for the countless hours that you pour into researching and advocating. Thank you for being willing to endure all the terrible parts of this job in order to give so much of yourself in exchange for the good that you do push forward. You guys are just ordinary people like us, our neighbors, parents of students, But unlike us, you said yes when the call for help came. You are appreciated, you are praised, you are respected, and you are supported by far too many of us who fail to let you know. Thank you for all the ways that you shine.
Thank you, Michelle. Next will be Bridget Gordon. Go ahead and state your name for the record.
For the record, my name is Bridget Gordon. I'm the lead school counselor for Carson City School District and a counselor at Carson High School. I'm grateful as an educator that I was able to grow and learn professionally in this district under the kind and compassionate guidance of Mr. Stokes. I see the work that I've taken on here for our students as my return on your investment in me as an educator. I love Carson City School District because it always puts students, families, and educators first. We invest in good people and we have access to good professional development. The educators I work with come from all over the nation, AJ and Tasha included. Because our district has been one that people actually enjoy working in. This year, all of us are exhausted. It's been really tough. But our kids keep showing up. They keep pushing us forward. Our educators and our parent volunteers are also showing up. They aren't complaining and not being part of the solution. I hope that we do not discount the power of the gifts that we already have within this district. That's why we have invested in each of us educators. I hope that we seek to come together rather than continue with the rhetoric in social media that is divisive. The power of education is that we are gifted these beautiful little minds to guide and support to improve our communities tomorrow. I hope the other noise that has been filling the conversation lately can fade to the back, and we as a district can remember what the mission at hand is, figuring out how to educate our students right now and together. So many of us support AJ because he represents the kindness and compassion that we in this district have been known for statewide in the 17 counties in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. John Vitale. I
think I have the green light.
Good.
Yeah. Members of the school board, it's pretty obvious in the events and correspondence and comments over the past several weeks, we were pretty darn close to a successful termination of the process and getting a pretty good candidate, I thought. Dr. Goldhart, I think, would have been great. And the only thing that caused the problem was probably a completely illegal action that drove him away. At the meeting, which a contract was discussed, there was clearly a violation of the open meeting law. So the business conduct of that meeting is certainly suspect. A proposed contract was agendized, but instead the process got into a reopening of the discussion about the contract and the details thereof. Whereas Member Crossman managed to insult the heck out of a guy who was on the phone or on the computer listening and watching to what was going on. So, you know, if it had been me, I would have said, I'm not going to go work there. I don't need that. A qualified guy like him, why would he want to come work here under circumstances like that? He would not. You drove him away is what you did. You drove him away. And I'll never forgive you for that. This community will not accept a half-assed approach to getting a school superintendent. We need somebody professional. And the only way to get that is to reopen the process and start all over again. Now, you have some good people that you can put in that position temporarily for a year. It won't be a problem. You can do that. And it might serve that person well. That person might end up being the superintendent. Maybe he will be better than Dr. Goldhart would have been. I don't know. But I do know that you need a good process, and the process that we have gone through so far is a mess. So straighten up. Do your job.
All right. I'll ask one more time just to keep the applause down, please. Karen Stevens. Yeah, both sides. Karen, it's Stevens.
Hi, my name's Karen Stevens, for the record. I have nothing disparaging to say about Andrew Fueling. I'm sure he's a very nice man. But what happened on March 22nd that I witnessed was the most disgraceful board meeting that I've ever observed at the federal, state, or local level. As a former Nevada Department of Education staff member, I've been involved in many of them. Two seemingly disgruntled Carson City School Board trustees launched into a vicious personal attack against Dr. Goldhart, assumingly to subvert the superintendent-controlled negotiations, intent on causing a reconsideration of the Carson City School Board superintendent selection by the majority voting bloc. An intense character assassination was directed against Dr. Goldhart. Apparently, extensive time and effort had been made to dig up any information that could be reported, twisted, and blown out of proportion, omitting pertinent, relevant information witnessed and recorded by New Hampshire residents. During the personal attacks, open meeting laws, Robert's Rules of Conduct, and oaths of office were ignored and trampled. The school board standards of honor and reputation of integrity were severely damaged. I am appalled at the horrible, horrible comments that were made against a nice man that has devoted his life to serving students. The Carson City community does not condone the irrational, unprofessional, and shameful conduct of Carson City School Board members that are elected to serve their constituents, as was demonstrated on March 22nd. An immediate public apology is expected to be made to Dr. Goldhart, other school board members, and the community. Additionally, I cordially invite the resignation of the two individuals involved in the previous mentioned dishonorable misconduct in an effort to mend the division that they personally caused within the board.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay. Lee Elliott, please.
My name is Lee Elliott. I live at 227 South Ira Street in Carson City, Nevada. I'm an entertainer and I'm usually not nervous, but I am because I'm sad. I'm sad because of what I see before me is the corruption that has reached the level of our local school board. I'm sad because there was no need for it. Personally, I think the school board should not have the final say-so in the hiring of such an important position. Consider this option. There should be a search committee put together with both teachers and parents and the school board that once a consensus is made on a candidate, then the elected school board, would vote on that candidate. But sadly, we are saddled with an antiquated way of selecting a new superintendent that opens the way for corruption. Since we are not allowed to speak the names of the individuals in question that have caused the firestorm that we see going on around us in our school district, I will ask the school board to censure the two board members that have destroyed the continuity of the democratic process that took place in March in the hiring of the new superintendent. If not censured, censured by the school board, then I politely ask those two board members to resign tonight, or please don't vote on any of the action items. To be honest with you, the only choice you really should make tonight is to start a new search process. I know there's not much time, but it didn't take much time for the school board to mess this up. So start over again and make it happen right away. We are in need of a major change. If by chance you vote against the will of the people, I'm not talking about the classified or the certified teachers that are here tonight, then I remember, but remember this one thing: there's nothing like the anger of voters scorned and the retribution that would follow, and we will, as citizens, ask for the resignation of all the school board members, not just the two in question, or there will be a recall effort not seen in these parts ever. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. January Hubert.
Hello, my name is January Hulbert. I'm an educator at Mark Twain Elementary School. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Stokes for his many years of service to our educators, students, and community. His leadership and determination to make our school system better has inspired us to continue to improve our practice. I come to you today as an educator and as a parent of a Carson High School student. Each day, my son's teachers, counselors, coaches, and my fellow colleagues show up for the many students who come into our classrooms. Our students enter with hope, goals, and sometimes issues that no child should ever have to experience. We have been tasked as educators to inspire the pursuit of that hope, push them to reach their goals, and comfort the hurt that would cause them to want to quit. We see our students. We see their success when they overcome challenges, and we see their struggle and ask ourselves, how can we do better so they can do better? Everything we do is for them. We see them through a lens that gives us hope for a better world. We see each and every one of our students. In this moment, trustees, we ask that you see us. We need you to see us as the educators, the administrators, the counselors to these remarkable young adults, and make a decision that not only benefits our students, but our community and us as well. We ask that as you proceed in choosing the next superintendent, keep in mind your educators. Listen to us as we support and respect Mr. Fueling's commitment to our district and as our next superintendent. We fully believe that he will continue Mr. Stokes' legacy and commitment to leading our district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other sheets in front of me, but I know there's probably other comments that would like to be made. So anybody else in the audience who would like to come forward and make a public statement, please do that now. And just state your name for the record.
I did sign the sheet at the doorway. I don't know why that didn't make it up to you, but my name is Maxine Neitz. I'm a degreed engineer and a businesswoman here in Carson City. The last year and a half, I've been tutoring young people from all parts of the country, including Carson City. And I can tell you from my experience with them, they know nothing. I'm not here to talk about the candidates because I don't know the candidates personally, although I have met them. I'm here to talk about the process. I've heard that this is called the Carson City School System. It is indeed a system. The management and staff are dedicated to the continuation of the existing system. The way you operate is the same as if the governor were elected by the state employees and selected from amongst them. That's not the way it should be done. This is indeed a closed system. I know that because I've tried to become a substitute teacher, which you say you are in need of, and I have not been able to. Our children are just widgets on the assembly line. In any given classroom, they come and they go, while the staff and the system remain the same. It's way past time to open up the system to new innovative blood, to be open to new ideas and methods and points of view. The people and the parents require it of you, the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Carrie Pryor for the record. I also want to thank Mr. Stokes for his leadership. He has provided guidance in a time of turmoil, and I think that we should honor his legacy. The other thing I'd like to say is, AJ, thank you. I know we don't question his character, but to sit here meeting after meeting as the financial leader in our district and to hear these comments, I'm wondering if anyone even asked AJ, would you take the position if offered? Because just like Mr. Goldhart had to sit and watch a board divided, AJ has sat here meeting after meeting, listening to community members and his board being divided. Today on my drive in, I thought to myself, this is like a beauty pageant gone wrong. When they say, before we announce the queen, we'd like to announce the first runner-up. And if the queen cannot perform their duties, we will then have the first runner-up. I'm very concerned that we're debating something and then AJ is going to say no. But what really concerns me is the fact that we did not hold up the strategic plan of Carson City School District, the plan that we all spent countless hours working on. When you look at goal number 1, the reason why I personally work here, because I'm mentored for growth. I'm a vice principal with aspirations of being a principal someday. I've been mentored by Tasha. I've been mentored by Dr. Ward. I've been mentored by Mr. Stokes. I've been mentored by Mr. Walker. I've been mentored by countless people because our strategic plan says in goal number 1, offer staff members opportunity for professional growth and capacity building. It says that we will retain exceptional staff and offer them advancement. And goal number 1, since I know I'm running out of time, I can list many other things. That is one of the things that we believe in, is our strategic plan. And if we are not going to uphold our strategic plan, then how can I sell to teachers coming in who want to make a 30-plus year career out of teaching the belief that someday, if you want to be an instructional leader in Carson City School District, that we believe in this plan?
Thank you, Carrie. I've been handed another sheet here with some names on it, so Susan Squires.
Mr. Stokes.
Please state your name for the record.
Yes, Carson City School Board, thank you for letting me be here. My name is Susan Squires. I'm the principal of Empire Elementary School, and I am here to represent my staff, and thank you to the members of my staff that could be here today. 2 things that I would like to address. First of all, these school district members that are here are not here because there's controversy. They're here for support. Secondly, we need to listen to our community. These people are your community. Mr. Fueling is your community at the soccer games every weekend, at the baseball games every weekend. He is your community. He is with these community members' children. He is with these community members in helping us be better educators for all of those children. These community members have given you their thoughts. They have given you their public comments. They have told you what they would like to have done. Yet, the community members who are unhappy disrespect every teacher, every staff member in the classroom who are working with these kids every day when they are allowed to come here and talk about how poor our school district is. and think that one man from out of state is going to change that. Mr. Stokes didn't change this district. He supported these community members who changed this district. We need a superintendent in here, Mr. AJ Fueling, who is going to continue to support these community members who make the difference in the schools.
Thank you very much. Lee, I can't read the last name here, unfortunately, but is there another Lee in the audience? Looks like maybe it might have been Lee Elliott. So we'll move on. Seeing nobody come forward. Mr. French. It's up to you. And state your name for the record.
Thank you. Mr. French, Carson City, Nevada, President, Mr. Stokes, and board members. I'm always nervous when I get up here, and I was going to reserve this till the end. I watched a PBS special, and all of you know that I'm a PBS and NPR go-getter on listening points. Benjamin Franklin's special was on yesterday. He serves as a beautiful example of where I like to be even emotionally. I could never reach his intellect or his eloquence, but it takes all of your input and all of your diversity in your experiences to make this board work. And when I was here at the last meeting, I felt very uncomfortable. I even used the word cart before the horse. I felt that there were things that had not been really considered before this offer had been finally put out there. And then with the resulting situation as it is, it seems that a lot of people took offense. I know for myself, I could never take on any of your shoes. They might all fit since I have small feet, but I appreciate the position you're in. I have 3 things in common with Benjamin Franklin: kidney stone problem, and at times gout. And the other thing I have in common with him is the understanding that I'm not always going to be in line with other people's thinking, but that my contribution is just as important as everybody's here. Regardless of how you feel about a position, that you are engaged, that you're part of the solution. And as long as we remember, our goal is to help these school supervisors and the teachers and the public to grow together and create a situation that's the best for the kids. And I have faith that the system works, not always in my direction or not always to my adjusted thought or my conclusion, but if we can keep our calm, collective anxieties, we all going to have them. And well, I just appreciate the fact that this is even happening and all the people with their differences are still able to sit calmly with each other and negotiate, because it's Benjamin Franklin was the best eloquent and able negotiator. He did not always get his way. He was self-reflective, and he thought later, wow, if I had this to do again, how would I do it? I hope everybody here is taking the opportunity to be self-reflective, review how we've done things, and maybe step forward with a new idea, a new perspective. I thank you very much. And so,
Thank you. Bridget Pugh. Oh, you don't have a comment? Okay. Thank you. Beth Rubley or Rubke. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. Beth? Doesn't. Okay, so this is just a sign-in sheet here. Okay, just a couple more here, and I'll see if you want to make a comment or not. Jeannie Davis. Janine, I guess. Janie, thank you.
Change.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Janie Davis.
Thank you.
Change. Everybody here agrees we need a change. Our educational system is struggling, but the curriculum or the decisions of the school board is not the reason for that. It doesn't help that Nevada doesn't care about education enough to fund it properly. Or maybe the system is not effective with the evolving difficult times that our children are facing. If I was personally in charge, I would think a system of skill mastery and curriculum paths based on intelligence strengths of the students would be more effective. But instead of complaining, I get in and try to help the current system. I'm a volunteer in the classroom, I run the PTA at CMS, and I'm a substitute teacher. Those who chant change and have no connection to the school don't have a right to complain about the system. If you aren't in the schools, you don't really know what it's like. You don't know what the teachers and the administration is dealing with behind the scenes. You don't know the tough decisions they are constantly making for the benefit of every child with diverse backgrounds and different value systems. An effective public leader does not make decisions based on their own personal opinions or values or political view. It is their responsibility to not put their values on others, but to find compromise between all points of view and values. Just as you wouldn't want someone forcing their values on you, you cannot expect a leader to only accommodate one side. If you want change, take the advice of my friend. If you see a boat sinking, you don't get outside the boat and complain about why it's sinking. You get in the boat, you get a bucket, and you help get the water out, Michelle Peterson, and you help the cause. We need to work together and compromise. All of us are here because we care about kids. We have that in common. Everyone in here cares about kids, and we need to work together to help those kids that are struggling and ask the actual people that are in the school dealing with it. I'm there, I see it, and I still know I don't know the whole story. But there is a crisis. There is a mental health crisis. You ask anybody that's dealing with the kids. These kids are struggling, and they don't need adults arguing about policies. They need us to compromise and find ways to help every child find their potential to be a productive member of society, period. And I am thankful for every educator that takes time to teach my child. They spend 7 hours a day with other people's kids and problems. We need to find the positive in what's going on and support those who are doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sarah Romero. Just state your name for the record, please. Do you want us? Sure. Thank you.
I'm Sarah. Do I have to push something? Yeah, it's great. Okay, sorry, I didn't. Sarah Romeo. I have 5 children. 4 are currently attending the schools in the district. I have 2 at Carson High, 1 at Carson Middle, and 1 at Fritch Elementary. Thank you, Superintendent Stokes, for your service in this district. And I would like to see the board move forward with offering the position to the qualified candidate of AJ Fueling. I know I have followed some of the discussion of previous board meetings, and he's often called a good old boy. And I just want to point out that he moved here from Wisconsin, and that was only 8 years ago. I know his family has lived in the Sealiger area, and currently they live on the west side. And I think it's great that the school community supports him so much. The teachers, the staff, I think that speaks volumes for someone to come into the district and have such support for the job that he's doing. I want to thank the board for sharing their opinions. You make a motion, you have a discussion, you open it to public comment, you listen, and you vote. And with that vote, Goldhart had a contract extended to him, and he decided not to accept it. That is part of the process. And I am thankful for your service and the time that you put into contemplating all of that is brought before you. And that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I have no more sign-up sheets in front of me, so I'll open it up to anybody else in the audience who may want to come forward and just state your name for the record. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angela Golick. I'm a Carson City School District educator. Thank you, Mr. Stokes, for all of your years of service. You have been a wonderful supporter of everything I've ever been crazy enough to do in this district for the children. And thank you to the board who also have always supported everything. I want to make a comment. First of all, I've worked with AJ. He came in and pretty much tried to save the econ program at Carson High. And to him, I'm forever grateful for his help with that. The second thing I want to say is I'm not a good old boy. I'm not a boy. I moved here from Montana in 2004. And I've been a school district teacher in Carson City since that time. I have longevity. This district has provided community to me. This district has provided family to me. In my particular I'm at the high school. We've raised children together. We've had marriages, we've had births, we've had tragedy, we've had deaths, and we're there for one another. That is what we are about in a community of Carson City. We are about family. We're about the family that we see you on the soccer fields, we see you on the basketball courts. And you know, I've stood silent for the last, what has it been, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it's been, when all of these people have come up and complained about the teachers in this district, about the curriculum. I'm tired of it. You want to know what? This education system is about ready to break nationwide. Are you all ready for that? Are you going to step in and take that job? Good luck. Let me tell you this also. This district has been so important to my family that my daughter graduated as salutatorian from a school that sucks. And then went on to graduate 3.5 years and is now a nurse in this Northern Nevada. She also wants to raise her family here. She's also considering filling out the application to be a substitute nurse in this district on her days off. She's marrying a Carson graduate in October who wants to be an English teacher in this district, who's now student teaching. This district has a lot to offer. And I am tired of being told that we are not good at what we do. Step into my shoes any day. I love this district. I'm sorry you've had to deal with all of the criticisms because we think you're doing a fabulous job, and I would support AJ becoming our next superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Any other public comment? Just come forward to the mic and state your name for the record.
Robert Harris. If we don't have rules, what do we have, right? We have chaos. This book is what the guiding light of this district is supposed to have. It is my understanding that the process for a superintendent candidate needs to start over because it's not in good faith to run off the elected nominee if a trustee in the minority voting bloc decides that they are not happy with the selection. Here is the passage from Robert's rules that leads me to believe that the process needs to be redone. 4646. Time at which an election takes effect, an election to an office becomes final immediately if the candidate is present and does not decline. Dr. Goldhart was present on February 22nd, and he did not decline. Robert's Rules 4646 continues with, after an election has become final, as stated in this paragraph, it is too late to reconsider the vote on the election. 4647 says, an officer takes possession of his office immediately upon his elections becoming final, unless the bylaws or other rules specify at a later time. If a formal installation ceremony is prescribed, failure to hold it does not affect the time at which the new officers assume office. I understand this as the selection process is closed after the meeting on February 22nd. Carson now has an article that shows the Attorney General has received complaints from the March 22nd meeting. The NRS codes that have been allegedly violated can be a catalyst to postpone this decision until the investigation is complete. Please consider not taking any action tonight until the Attorney General has a chance to review the material given to them. Mr. Russell even tried getting the road conversation back to the agenda item. Although unsuccessful, it shows the violation was egregious and obvious. The audacities of trustees to besmirch Dr. Goldhart and then attempt to get a less qualified candidate installed as superintendent is not in good faith. The board needs to restart the process of hiring free of prejudice and bias. And just to follow up, Nevada, Carson City, we get $7,600 per student. Florida gets about the same. Nevada Department of Education numbers show we are, and I've showed this to you guys, pounded India, level 2, approaching standard. Okay, I'm not here saying anybody is horrible. Okay, maybe it's the curriculum. Okay, I have a vested interest in the future of these children, and I care immensely that the process of these rules are followed. Thanks for your time. Please submit my comments to the record of this meeting.
Thank you, Robert. Any other in-person public comment? Come forward and state your name for the record.
Joy Tushinsky. In the February 22 school board meeting, the majority of trustees approved the selection of Dr. John Goldhart, a highly qualified educator with 33 years of education experience, to be the new superintendent. Mr. Andrew Feeling was not selected as he had only 3 years teaching experience and has never been a principal or superintendent. Trustees Crossman and Walker were visibly angry by this vote. During the later weeks, Dr. Goldhart was presented with an insulting contract proposal by offering a highly qualified educator the lowest possible salary and only a 1-year contract. At the March 22 board meeting, the trustees disrespected Dr. Goldman by allowing Walker and Crossman to defame Dr. Goldhart, especially Trustee Crossman slandered Goldhart when she said he would hurt the kids here as well. Then she presented a motion to remove Goldhart from consideration, and Walker seconded. No discussion. This was totally in violation of Robert's Rules of Order, open meeting laws, and the code of conduct by the two trustees and the board as a whole. I suspect the hostility shown by Crossman and Walker may be a major factor why Dr. Goldhart withdrew from the negotiations. Crossman and Walker are not fit to be trustees. They should resign. Mr. Fielding is not qualified to be superintendent. He may be a nice guy, but during his interview, which I watched twice, he lacked clarity and knowledge of the role of superintendent and educator. A new selection process should begin. We have time. Our schools are failing our children, and it may not be because of the teachers, but the curriculum. But if you do not know that the schools are failing our children, you should not be on the school board or be a teacher or an administrator. Thank you for your time.
Mr. President, I just wanted for the record
Go
to
ahead.
state the motion and the second was to offer Dr. Goldhart a contract, which is similar to our current superintendent's contract, at a salary which is similar to our current superintendent. It took him, I think, about 13 years to reach that level. So we moved to offer him a contract. It was a good faith contract. It is the contract we've used for many years with Mr. Stokes.
Thank you. Go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Brittany Witter. I am the Humanities Assessment and Curriculum Coordinator currently for the school district. I first also just wanted to thank Mr. Stokes for all of your time. I can't tell you, I did my student teaching in Washoe County where I had no idea who the superintendent was. Literally, no idea, nor would they care about, you know, a new teacher. My first day on the job at Carson, Mr. Stokes walked up to me and introduced me, and he knew my name before I even could introduce myself to him. I think that's a huge part of why teachers stick in this district for the long run. I have friends who I try to persuade, don't work in Washoe, come to Carson. It's amazing here. I would like to see us keep that component of who we are, and I'm scared that we are losing it. I have a fear of telling people that I know in Reno, come work in Carson, when I don't know what our future is, and it is scary. I taught at Eagle Valley, or the high school 1 year, Eagle Valley for 7 years, and now I am in support of the curriculum, which apparently may be a problem. So not good timing, I guess. But I also just wanted to say that when our AP economics teacher was unable to teach this year, Mr. Fueling worked directly with me to help teach these kids AP economics. I have a degree in social studies, and this AP economics stuff is extremely challenging. The moment we reached out to him, he was there in the classroom the very next day. He showed up every B2 class period teaching these students. A student would email me at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night and ask me to reset a quiz for them. I'd log on, he had already reset it. He is so invested in this district from the lowest level to the highest level. I just want to also thank all of you guys. I, in the past, thought about maybe, public service is a great thing to maybe want to do. Absolutely not in this political climate. So I thank you guys so much for what you do. Seriously, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, but I appreciate you guys, especially those of you who are vocal and getting destroyed because of it. The courage you have to continue to speak your mind and stand up for teachers and students in this district, it does not go unnoticed. I apologize for not being here sooner and speaking up. I really, really hope you guys can continue to move this district forward. Please don't keep us stuck. If everyone wants change, we want improvement, we want growth, help us move forward today, please. Not 6 months from now, not 10 months from now, not when we can't fill principal positions because we have nobody to start the process. Please help us move forward now.
Thank you. Thank you. Just state your name for the record.
My name is Nikki Hendy. I'm the lead counselor at Carson High School. Mr. Stokes, President Varner, trustees, I was at the special school board meeting several months ago when you as a board were just beginning this process. I remember you stating that you did not have to open the position of superintendent to outside candidates at all, and I believe that you had said it had been over 20 years since it had been opened and that usually a candidate was placed into the position. I wanted to remind you of this, that you are not required to open this position. You as the board can make this decision. I have enjoyed working with Mr. Stokes in a leadership position in this district for the past 22 years, and I look forward to working for the last several years of my career under Mr. A.J. Fueling. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening, Jennifer Ward for the record. Thank you, President Varner, Board of Trustees, and Mr. Stokes especially. Tonight, I come to you as the president and on behalf of the Carson City Building Administrators Association, many of which are here in the audience tonight. I thank you for creating the motion to support Mr. Andrew Fueling as the next superintendent of the Carson City School District. As an organization, we see the choice as continued investment in the human capital of the Carson City School District. This is not a matter of a good old boy system, nor is it just taking the internal candidate to make an easy choice. This is rather a choice and a direction that will allow us to go from good to great. The belief that there is an outside fix was, and may still be, totally misguided. Those of us who understand the complexities of educational statistics and the current understanding of our student impacts can also explain how difficult and complicated it will be to gauge our student, school, and district success over the next few years. I bring us back, as Ms. Pryor had also, to the strategic plan. Goal 1, homegrown staff. And it is my understanding that our district is not just about moving paraprofessionals into the teaching ranks. It is also to allow our administrators to grow professionally as well. We believe that AJ will, through shared leadership and responsibility, lead our direction of our school district in the right way, and that is up. Please consider voting in the affirmative for the motion before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
My name is Maxine Bradshaw. And my comments relate to the March 22nd meeting, agenda item 11, and the immediate misdirection. That meeting was taken by Laurel Crossman and Mike Walker to speak on a non-agendized topic that was previously voted on and passed by a 4-3 vote on February 22nd, 2022, to hire Dr. John Goldhart as a new superintendent for Carson City School District. This March 22nd agenda item was clearly defined solely for the purpose of contract negotiations and nothing more. Yet the opposite happened, making it clear the definition of contract negotiations eluded Laurel Crossman, who instead slandered, defamed, and attacked the character of Dr. John Goldhart repeatedly during her unhinged monologue. She perpetrated lies, brought in materials not shared with other board members, calling it truth. The list of violations she committed follows some direct violations of the open meeting laws. I'm certain it is within the scope of an authority of the board's legal counsel, Ryan Russell, to clarify and define each of these violations for board members who may need clarification. NRS 241-030, NRS 241-033, NRS 282-010, that's oath of office, Board of Trustees Code of Conduct, Bylaws 041, Article 1, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and Section 4. I was completely shocked and disgusted at the total absence of decorum and professionalism demonstrated at the March 22nd school board meeting coming from two board members. The verbal insanity I witnessed coming out of the mouth of Laura Crossman was unbelievable, with follow-up echo from Mike Walker. From all of her mannerisms manifested in words, gestures, and body language, she was completely unhinged. I have never seen such unprofessionalism and lack of self-control coming from someone who has been entrusted by this community with the educational guardianship of Carson City school children. This is frightening.
Maxine, if I could, please refrain from the real personal attacks. Address it to the board. We were all involved in the decision that night, so please address it to the board.
After transcribing and reviewing the recording of the March 22nd meeting, an investigation should be fully pursued regarding the meeting process from a legal standpoint. And this is to ensure the safety, educational health, well-being, and protection of the school children in this community. The certified recordings of minutes of the Carson City School Board's February 22nd and March 22nd meetings verify Laurel Crossman's state of mind.
Again, address it to the board, please.
And the number is 21002.
Thank you.
Just remember, we're 51 in the nation in education.
51. Thank you. Any other in-person public comment? Anybody out in the hallway? Oh, go ahead.
Betsy Strasburg. I'm happy to see so many teachers in the room and district staff. I know that they try to work in a very difficult environment, and I've heard comments from teachers about the duality of their functions and how things, if streamlined, would improve their morale and reduce their fatigue. So that is the reason for requesting a change with an outside person with a fresh set of eyes. Superintendent Stokes was hired in February 28, 2008. At that time, Trustee McKenna, John McKenna, said, I would like this board to forget about anybody else. We have 14 years of the same set of eyes looking at everything. That's why we wanted an outsider who had prior experience as a superintendent. At the March 22nd meeting, Trustee Walker said, "What is going to happen with this person as superintendent?" I asked today the same question. What is going to happen with this person as superintendent? Amazing how things repeat themselves, which proves that this is a closed system. There is always going to be exception of very exceptional students, but it is the exception that prove that not everybody can benefit from that same good fortune. I'm asking all 4 trustees who voted for Dr. Goldhart to examine what criteria did you use to select him over Mr. Fueling. The criteria is the same. The evaluation is the same. The rush you feel today is brought up by the minority board members who did not vote for Dr. Goldhart. In my mind, there is no rush. We have, if the teachers are correct, that the district is functioning well. You did the last process in a month, little over a month, maybe 2. So there is no rush to go forward now. Mr. Fueling is a fantastic person. We've seen him come to this meeting often, and he is very responsive to all emails, but he is not experienced to take the massive leap when he has no principal experience and no current experience as a superintendent. We are not talking about one step within the same grade level. And at that time, Ms. Trustee Varner, it's okay to mentor and train and et cetera. But when there is a giant leap, it is hard to do that. I came from Sun Microsystem, where we bought a person from within, and the company is no longer there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead, come on up.
Barb Mathers, for the record. The fact that all of these administrators and staff and teachers showed up in support of cheating, manipulating, lying, slander, temper tantrums, bullying, hypocrisy, character assassination, and belittling speaks volumes. This is part of why we're literally bouncing back and forth between last and the nation. Nobody's discussed the kids and the education and what we need for the kids. It's really frustrating that in the last meeting, it wasn't even on the agenda to get rid of the contract. Attorney Russell's here for 2 reasons: to intimidate us and to keep them on track. I give you an F on both accounts at the last
Again,
meeting.
I'd ask you to address the board, not an individual person.
The whole board,
Okay, thank
that
you.
last meeting was ridiculous. It was so frustrating to watch that. We have been coming to these meetings week after week after week. I pulled my kids out of the public school system because it's failing. I'm homeschooling my children and working full time because you guys are failing. It is not working. The teachers are busting their butts, but we're still low in the nation. That speaks volumes too. We have a beef with what is currently in as the system. Superintendent Stokes has been here for 14 years. We don't want someone to slip into his shoes. We want to change. We want those shoes chucked as far away as possible, and we want things to change. I don't want mediocrity. I don't want my kids to be in a system that's literally the worst in the nation. Why are you guys okay with this? Why are you guys okay with this? Why are you okay with being the last in the nation? Mediocrity stinks. We want our kids to be the best that they can be, to be able to contribute to society. That's not what our kids are doing when they graduate. I graduated from this system. There were sucky teachers at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. There's good teachers too. Gifted students are going to do well no matter what level of teachers they have. We need to cater to every single child. Look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, help each child, and not across the board doing changes for everybody. You need to look at literally every child and see what they need, how they can be better. And the biggest thing with the last meeting is open meeting laws were broken. I mean, It wasn't even on the agenda to be discussing getting rid of his contract. The position had been offered and you guys were supposed to be negotiating his contract. He was voted in 4-3. You lost, you lost, you lost. Fueling wasn't picked, then the majority was selected. The majority selected Goldhart. And there's no rush to fill this position. Stokes has been in for 14 years. You guys can take a couple months to pick the right person for the position. Don't just fill it because it's inconvenient not to have a superintendent. Please listen to the majority.
Thank you. Any other in-person comment? Just come up and state your name for the record. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ananda Campbell for the record, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the good old gals. I identify as female, so I'm going to say I'm a good old gal because I'm multi-generational, Carson High. And there's been a lot of talk tonight about good old boys, etc. And I'll say I love Carson City. I grew up here. My dad graduated from Carson High. My children will be very proud Carson High graduates because they bleed blue. We are Carson City. We are your community. AJ Fueling, he's an outsider, but I want him to lead our district because he is a visionary. He has great ideas. He has proven himself. He has invested his family in this district. He came into this district and he could have gone anywhere. He could have spent a very short amount of time here and then gone anywhere because his skills are fantastic. But he decided to stay in Carson City. He's raising his children here in the public schools because we have fantastic schools here. I want to make sure that you're hearing our voices and that you see that we are your community. Week after week, we see a very small group of vocal people disparaging our teachers, disparaging our schools, disparaging our community. You may not see the majority of the people, as we had this wonderful mom, Michelle, we are not here every week. And I'll tell you what, as teachers, we are tired because we are dedicating our lives every day to make this community a community that is better for all of us and a community for our children. So yes, I do speak for the district. I mean, for myself as a district employee, but more important than that, I'm a mom. And my kids go to Carson City Schools, public schools. At one point in my 25-year career, and I moved out of the state to teach somewhere else, and it was pretty fun. But I knew when I was ready to have a family and settle down, of course I came back here because I want my kids to be in Carson City School District. And honestly, when I left, Mr. Stokes was head of HR at that time. And one of the reasons I came back was because I wanted to work for him, because he is a man who runs our district with integrity. And I love that we are investing in our staff and we have a path to move upward. I want to work for AJ Fueling, not because he's a nice guy, and yes, he is, and not because he's invested in our district. And if you go to any sporting event, because of his 3 kids are involved in everything, he's there. He's cheering on our kids. He knows who our teachers are. He knows who our students are. I want to work for him because he will move us forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other in-person comment? Come on up. State your name for the record, please.
Alyssa Smith, for the record. I've never talked in front of grown-ups. This is really stressful. My name is Alyssa Smith, and I've been teaching English for Carson City School District for the last 6 years. I graduated college, I got my master's degree, and I was offered a job here as a fresh college grad. I have only stayed teaching because of the leadership I've been given in this job. Every time for the last, year, I have watched a school board meeting every other week. I am appalled that members of the community would talk to the people whom I've spoken to personally multiple times, Laurel Crossman and Don Carini, who I see at the pool deck cheering on their kids, who I see at our school talking to the staff. I'm appalled that people treat you guys like you're less than human.
I'm also appalled that people treat us like we're less than human. For $50,000 a year, I don't think anybody would choose to do this job where apparently we are ruining America and also last in the nation. Because, like I said, with my master's degree that I'll never pay off in student loan debt, for $50,000 a year, I don't know if that's worth it. What I also don't appreciate is that you guys are doing the job that, again, nobody wants to do this. This is my nightmare, right? You guys are doing a job that nobody wants to do, and you're being bashed constantly. Similarly to teachers, we have a substitute teacher shortage, we have a teacher shortage, and it's only getting worse. Teachers consider leaving this profession every single day, and not because we don't love the kids and we don't love the work that we do, but because we do not like tuning into YouTube every other week to see people tell us that we are the worst people they could possibly be around. I would like to thank you guys for everything that you have ever done. I would like to thank you guys for all the leadership that you give. And because, like I said, that's not a job I want to do. And, you know, I have teenagers who yell at me all the time. In this room, nobody ever talks about the good that we do. Nobody ever talks about the students that I counsel or the students that I mentor. Everyone wants to talk about the curriculum and being 49th in the nation. But I would like to invite every single one of you who has an issue with working in the schools and what teachers do to come take a step in our shoes. We have hella subs we need, so come on in. It pays $100 a day, which, if you do the math, equals about my salary. So, thank you so much for your time. That's it.
Thank you. Any other in-person comment? Mr. Wallace, come ahead.
Brian Wallace, OCA president, which proudly represents 80% of the certified staff within this district. Focusing on the motion at hand and reflecting back on Mr. Feeling's presentation, along with Dr. Goldhart's, both were asked to answer the question you as the board posed, which was, how would you strengthen the strategic plan? From Mr. Feeling's presentation, we value our students now and in the future, both on and off campus. Indicators of student success do not solely rest upon standardized tests. A test is solely a moment in time, is what he reminded us through that presentation. All of us as educators, parents, and community members know we are always constantly tested, and that those change ever part of our life. It never will change when we are tested. We value our staff. We respect for staff and their self-efficacy are key to student success and opportunity. We must keep that apart as in our minds as a community, that we value each other. We value our partnerships, including parents and the community, and those partnerships we have built with the Carson City Sheriff's Office, and we are one of the few school boards actually in the nation where you have a partnership with your city board of supervisors. We value our country's future. There is room for improvement that we need to empower versus ensure. We need metrics. We have heard that time and time again at many of these board meetings that there needs to be metrics, and Mr. Fueling agreed to those, and at the end of his presentations, those metrics were included in how to strengthen the strategic plan. Without current benchmarks, achievability improvement of the goals cannot be determined. And he goes on to list what benchmarks we would need to take a look at. Many of us as educators would agree with some of his points that we need to streamline our metric and data collection. We find ourselves in an unattainable position due to the state constantly legislating to us different metrics. With AJ's experience through his current committee assignment and our continued connections through NSCA, this union, and all of you as active board members, we can continue to work with the state to change some of those metrics. Incentive alignment is critical to success. Public sector goals are different than private sector, but humans are humans. We are fully aware that the children of this community, your students, our students, all of our students are not widgets. We are the first to argue they are not widgets, but they are human beings that per our strategic goals, we will continue to ensure have the opportunities to thrive in this city, this state, and this nation.
Thank you. Any other in-person public comment? State your name for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Sheila Story. I'm the chief nurse and school nurse at Carson High School. Thank you, President Varner, and the members of the board, along with our district office. I'm not here to talk about curriculum. I'm here to talk about the health, safety, and well-being of our students. I'm a school nurse for 21 years within this district. We are extremely fortunate in this district to have an RN at every single school and/or support staff that does a wonderful job helping keep our children safe, healthy, and well during school hours and all their school activities. I truly believe that this school district believes in the health, safety, and well-being above and beyond curriculum and academic success. Richard Stokes have kept a school nurse in each school for years. And I truly believe that someone within our district like A.J. Fueling would continue down that path. We have to remember health, safety, and well-being is what make children be academically successful. On another point, we have raised 3 children in this school district. 2 were gifted and talented. 1 is on an IEP and severely dyslexic. And you know what? These individuals at all of our elementaries, middle, and high school have helped all 3 of my children be extremely successful. My son, who was dyslexic, just got his first 4.0 this year because our teachers at Carson High worked so diligently with him. So you know what? We are not failing. We are successful, and our children will be successful above and beyond high school graduation. I have a daughter who's graduated from college, very successful. I have a son who's a senior at the University of Kentucky, getting his degree, graduating in December, and he's on the U.S. Olympic cheer team. We have successful children. My son, Parker, will also be extremely successful because he's very charismatic and he'll get the job done and be very successful past high school graduation. So I truly believe that A.J. Fueling will help support the health, safety, and well-being of our students and make sure each school continues with a registered nurse or other qualified individuals to help support them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sheila, I just want to say congratulations to Parker. It's hardworking.
Okay, any other in-person public comment? Go ahead, come on up, please. And state your name for the record and should be good to go.
Hi, nice people. My name is Kara Torado. It's nice to meet you all. I feel like I've only been here a few times and it wasn't as polarized as it is today. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Stokes, for taking a chance on me. I was hired in 2 other local districts a couple years ago, and I chose this district specifically because of its strategic plan. It was posted on the internet, and I dreamt of being a teacher here. And so when Washoe hired me, I actually pushed them off a little bit. And I said, oh, just wait till I show up. And then I pushed off the other district. I don't even know its name. Starts with a D, the one that's near here. Yeah. I didn't want to work for them either. I wanted to work here because you have a vision. And so when Carrie was talking about the strategic plan being so important, I just think that you should know that it really does attract highly qualified individuals and that homegrown is definitely important and a gold mine that we should keep mining, but that it does serve also as an attractant to highly qualified people. I just want to say that. I'm here today because I printed off an email from Renee and then also from Mr. Stokes. And the original email from Renee was stating how Dr. Goldhart was going to be our new superintendent. And I love numbers. I'm a science nerd, so data is my jam. And only one person liked that email. One. I don't know who she is. Then there was another email that came later, and 79 people, including myself, liked the email where Mr. Stokes said that he was stepping down and this meeting was happening. So I'm here today wearing blue because it's AJ's favorite color. And all of us in the audience who are wearing blue, we're in support of him. So when you see the blue, I just want you to know that they might not come up to the microphone, but that's why we're doing it. And I'm here today for those 78 other people who are at home, who are employees of our district, and who are too tired because of everything that happens every day in the classroom. One last thing, I think you all should know this. You know when you go to hire someone and they interview, and then they work for you for a while, and then they're totally different than their interview. Like that happens regularly. So I feel like we should take that into consideration. That think about what happened during the interviews and that maybe things are going to be a lot better than some people think moving forward. We all want change, all of us. Every single level wants change. And we need a leader, not a boss. We don't need someone to come in here and slash and burn and not know the history. We need someone who can come in and lead us in the trenches. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Any other in-person comment?
Good evening. My name is Christina Bourne. Thank you for having us tonight. Mr. Stokes, thank you for your years of service. We greatly appreciate you. I am an educator here in Carson City School District. I teach at Mark Twain Elementary School. This is my 18th year for the Carson City School District. And what I want to say right now is that what I was just hearing is exactly right. We have a gold mine right here in Carson City. There are so many of us who were born, myself included, born here in Carson City and raised in the Carson City School District. And we know our history. We need somebody who knows our history. The best educators know their kids. The best educators know what those children need, what their backgrounds are from their homes, what they are bringing academically, and we use that information to move things forward. If we choose somebody who doesn't know us as a district, we are failing this community. AJ Fueling knows this community. He is in this community. He is a community member. He is vested with his own children in this community. He understands our history. And with that information can help drive us forward and move us in the direction of positive change that we desperately need. Thank each and every one of you for your service as board members. I deeply appreciate what you do. It is a hard job. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other in-person public comment? Please come up and we'll let him go first and you next. No, go ahead.
For the record, my name is Steve Cordonaway. I think whether you agree or disagree with how we got to where we're at now, the fact of the matter is that we're here. If there is any veracity to any of the claims that were put forth against the board, I think those should be investigated. At the end of the day, I think we owe it to our students and our community to make a decision. And I think the best decision that we could possibly look at is AJ Fueling. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tina Statuki. I do not work for Carson City School District. I am a private citizen of Carson City, a proud new member of Carson City. Moved here about 2 years ago because the community is so wonderful. I love living here. But I just want to tell you, from speaking from experience, I left a job in education after 26 years in a district down south because they thought it was a wonderful idea to bring in a superintendent from out of state. And it didn't go very well. And it's still not going very well because he was not familiar with the community. And all you need to do is look around all the other districts in this state and see how many districts have made the same mistake, bringing in people from the outside that don't have a vested interest in the students, the families, the community partners of the children that go to this school. You have got to look at someone who's dedicated to the school district, not someone who's going to come in from out of state to serve their 3 years and use this as a stepping stone to get to where they want to go next. You need somebody who's here for the long haul, and somebody who has a family here is going to be here for the long haul and do what they need to do to best support the students here.
Thank you. Any other in-person comment? Please come forward.
Is it on?
It should be, if it's green, it'll be on.
It's green.
I'm a
Just state your
little-
name for the record, please.
My name is Mary Foster. I am an employee of the district. I think I'm much better at sending in online comments than doing this in person. But here I am.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I've heard a lot of talk about community. And before I was an employee of the district, or I am an employee of the district, I was just part of the community. And my husband had a very tragic accident. And I was on the school improvement committee at that time as a parent volunteer at Empire Elementary. And that day that my husband was killed, Mr. Stokes called me. That was in 2009. He had been the superintendent for 1 year. I have 2 boys. They were at the time 11 and 13. They were both at Eagle Valley, which was a wonderful place for both of them because the community at Eagle Valley surrounded me and helped me. My oldest son just graduated from WGU after a very difficult time in high school. Mr. Bob Chambers had him suspended from school. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. My son will tell you today that that was the best thing that ever happened to him because he learned how to be a grown-up and he learned what it took. Both of my boys are very smart. They're great kids. My son, the oldest one, graduated from WGU. He is now a stockbroker. He's 25 years old. He lives in Utah now, and he is so successful. My second son is 23, all 6'7" of him. And he has been on the dean's list at UNR for 3 semesters, and he will graduate this year as an environmental scientist. This is our community. Sorry. This is our community, okay? We all have kids here. We are supported by you. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Thank you. Joe, Mike, Stacy, Dawn, Lupe, Laurel, Mr. Varner, thank you. Renee, Mr. Stokes, thank you all for everything you have done for me as a single mom to raise my children, to have this community to raise my children in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just so you guys know, I love Andrew Fueling. Don't tell his wife. I'm just going to tell you this one quick thing. I know my time is up. As an office manager, he has brought me.
We do have to stop public
We do have to
comments.
stop, yeah, thank you. Any other in-person public comment? Anybody out? Come forward, please.
On. Now it's on. Kimberly Ponzak. I was not planning on getting up today. I was just going to enjoy hearing what
Did you
everybody
say your
had
name
to-
for the record? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
Kimberly Ponzak.
Okay, thank you.
So my family moved here about 8 years ago, and we had lived internationally. We'd lived in the upper Midwest. My children had been in very good private schools. They had been in very good school districts. And when it came time to move to Nevada, I was very nervous when I heard, that Nevada is so poor in their education. Then we planned on living in Reno, and everybody in Reno said, we couldn't find the right house for us. So we started looking in Carson, and everybody in Reno said, what are you doing? Carson is kind of the worst. And we ended up here, and I think that the people in Reno are now regretting that they said that because I think that we are so awesome here. I have 7 children. The oldest graduated in 2020, and the youngest, she will be starting kindergarten this fall at Fritch. And I have had nothing but good experiences. Our district and our teachers and our administrators really do compete with the really amazing districts that we came from in Minnesota. They really compete with the private schools we went to internationally. And I don't really see we would need to look outside of the area, especially when things are, I don't know, I feel like they're just really good here. So thank you all for all that you do for us.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody out in the hall that may want to come in and speak? One more time. Okay, seeing no other in-person public comment, we'll close in-person public comment and go on to online public comment. Renee, do we have any online?
Yes, sir. This comment is from Charlotte Stewart, and she's writing to share her thoughts about the superintendent fiasco. First, the contract negotiation for Dr. Goldhart was anything but a negotiation. It was sabotaged by Mrs. Crossman and Mr. Walker, two people who want Andrew Fueling in no matter the cost. Mrs. Crossman brought material in newspaper smears to slander and discredit Dr. Goldhart. After what we've seen with the Russia collusion hoax, COVID, and so much more, she would know you can't trust every article you read. Dr. Goldhart already addressed the political environment he wanted to leave and why. I think that Crossman and Walker need to do some serious reflection, maybe go back and watch their behavior during the last board meeting. Crossman reminded me of the typical deep state thugs like Pelosi during a wrap-up smear on her opponents. I don't think they should be included in the decision of who's the next superintendent because they don't have the best interests of our children as priority. The behavior we witnessed at the last board meeting was very distasteful and I believe the violation of the open meeting law. Enough covering for the good old boys system that seems to have plagued so many institutions across this nation. Please just open up the superintendent position again and hopefully we can get an experienced individual who truly cares about the children in our district. This comment is from staff member Brian Waltz. His mother is a teacher and his wife is a teacher. Additionally, he has a child who will likely to attend the Carson City School District. Thanks to a stroke of incredible luck, you once again have the option to make Andrew Fueling our superintendent. When hiring a superintendent, there are three main points to look for: disposition, vision, and administrative experience. In my capacity at Carson City School District, I regularly have the opportunity to work with Mr. Fueling, and he is one of the nicest people I've ever met. He is kind to staff, he is kind to fellow employees, and he speaks supportively of the work we do here. As the superintendent is the public face of our district, we need someone with this people skills at the helm, meeting with the public and supporting students and staff. When it comes to vision, AJ has been a teacher in the past, and as such, he intimately understands our primary goal of educating students and the challenges that come from achieving that goal. AJ is a forward thinker. As a fiscal director, he regularly comes through the secures funding for critical initiatives that support education. This is no easy task, as the state has recently reduced our budget. Despite this, he uses his management expertise to ensure the work continues. Finally, when it comes to the administrative expertise, AJ has it in spades. He is part of the top cabinet at the district and thus regularly involved in top administrative decisions at the district. Furthermore, AJ is a listener. There's a host of problems with being in education right now. The only way an administrator is going to fix those problems is by listening to the public and staff and doing their best to address concerns. By being willing to listen and fix problems, AJ is going to quickly become a highly effective administrator. He's the man for the job. As such, it is my recommendation that the board recognize that the best candidate in front of them and immediately hire Mr. Fueling. This comment is from another staff member, Stacy Bucaneri, who is also a district employee and has a daughter who graduated from Carson High School. Ms. Bucaneri has been with the district just shy of 5 years. Thank you for the opportunity to express my thoughts regarding Agenda Item 3 on the special board meeting for April 6th. After witnessing the first endeavor to offer employment to an approved candidate for superintendent, I could see that not all views were represented. I am thankful for the chance to rectify my silence with this submission. Mr. Fueling was my first supervisor after being hired as an accounting temp to work in fiscal services department at the district office. My initial experience in working with Mr. Fueling was nothing but positive. After a few months as a temporary employee, I was presented an opportunity to work full-time in the Innovation and Technology Department. Because all technology, hardware, software is purchased through IT, a large portion of my duties include managing one of the largest departmental budgets in the district. The various special projects in which I have been involved have required coordination with Mr. Fueling regarding general ledger budget coding and following state mandates regarding reporting of purchases and coordinating funding available for the school district's technology needs. Mr. Fueling has always handled my funding questions and requests with professionalism, foresight. In my years of working in various professional environments, Mr. Fueling ranks as one of the most straightforward, confident directors with which I've had the pleasure to work. I was dismayed and shocked to hear some consider him otherwise. Thank you again for the opportunity to submit the comments, and she believes that we have that in Mr. Fueling. This comment is from Dean Haley, a teacher at Empire Elementary School. Regrettably, he's unable to attend, but is here in spirit. Clearly, we have had an unfortunate turn of events in the attempt to hire a school superintendent. I'm not sure that anyone could have foreseen this situation. That being said, I consider the decision to hire a candidate from the other side of the country a rather baffling and somewhat aggravating mistake in the first place. You have a local candidate right in front of you, not only ready to accept the position, but hit the ground running. I read the newspaper articles from various reporting agencies in the area and the comments that accompanied those articles. The consensus among the public, and more pointedly, the teaching community, was that they wanted the local candidate, Andrew Fueling, as the next superintendent of schools for the district. The benefits were many, the drawbacks were few. To me, the answer to our current conundrum is quite simple and logical. Listen to the teachers of the district and to the community. Give them the candidate they wanted in the first place. That is, if Mr. Fueling is still willing to take the job. He is familiar with the culture in this vicinity and in the school district. He is aware of what we do well and what we need to improve on. Most importantly, has established relationships with those who are important to the running of the district. This means that the district, students, and teachers will not have to suffer through what would be a natural lag time as an outside candidate would have to acclimate and create relationships. We are in a critical time in education. Changes are happening quickly, and there are many challenges to face. We need to be ready to see those challenges head on and at full speed. This comment was provided anonymously. I first want to thank you for all the work the board has dedicated to finding a superintendent to lead the district. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts for consideration. I highly recommend Mr. Fueling. He possesses the needed qualities for this position. The process of finding a quality superintendent has been stressful. Staff needs a leader who they can trust, respect, and who has the knowledge of the district's strengths and needs. I believe his resume shows he exceeds the criteria for superintendent, but the following qualities make him a rare candidate for the position. Thoughts for consideration. Mr. Fueling and his family moved to Carson City and made it their home. He has taken the time to build trusting relationships in the community and schools. Positive relationships are critical in the position, especially this one. In our strategic plan, we speak to growing our own and supporting staff in that journey. I believe the district has provided Mr. Fueling the opportunities to learn the duties of a superintendent. Mr. Fueling has taken the opportunity to learn and will excel in this task. As a district, we take pride in growing our own. It needs to be noted that when I was asked about our process in looking for a new superintendent, many colleagues around the state provided their input. They speak very highly of Mr. Fueling's character, abilities, and contribution. He brings a depth of knowledge to state meetings, projects, and various district collaborations. As a leader, Mr. Fueling has strength in listening to all staff, bargaining units, and community members. He takes the time to support conversations and find solutions. Mr. Fueling has shown the ability to attend to all aspects of the district's needs. He continues to work to move the district forward. He has proven that he can collaborate with teams and take into consideration of staff's expertise and the concerns of community members. With consideration of the voting of 4 4 votes to 3 votes, it only makes sense to allow Mr. Fueling this opportunity to lead the district. Sometimes we find ourselves looking for someone we already have. I hope you consider Mr. Fueling's resume along with his considerable strengths, dedication, and commitment to the district and community. He would prove to be an excellent superintendent for the district and continue to move the district forward in meeting all of our students' needs. This comment was provided anonymously. I wanted to take a moment to recommend Mr. Fueling for the next superintendent. I have met with Mr. Fueling and his family, and I was impressed. I believe he has a strong work ethic and dedication to his family, community, and the district. His interview showed that he has the skills needed to be a successful superintendent. Mr. Fueling has managed Carson City School District through hard fiscal times and can collaborate with all departments in the district. He has a clear understanding of the financial needs of the district. With his young family, he understands the need for a good education for all students and the skills to provide that opportunity for all. I believe professionally and personally, he is the candidate that will be dedicated to the district for the foreseeable future. The district needs someone with his ability and dedication as the next superintendent. This comment is from staff member Ian Truesdale. He's a resident of Carson City, an employee of the district, and the parent of a first grader currently enrolled at Fritch. I'm completely invested in this school district's success for years to come, not just for myself and my career, but for my child and their education as well. I'm writing today in support of extending the position of superintendent to the board's second choice, Mr. Fueling, as determined by the previous selection process. There is no need to engage in another nationwide campaign costing taxpayers more money to find a superintendent when we have an excellent candidate right in front of our eyes. In my time working with the school district, I've had the pleasure of interacting with AJ on multiple occasions. His demeanor has always been exceptionally professional and friendly. He has always been willing to take the time to explain everything in his expertise, and he is one of the most patient individuals I've encountered. This is the kind of person we need as the face of our administration, someone who would be willing to calmly and patiently address the concerns of staff and the public alike. AJ has proven to be an incredibly valuable asset to the district as our financial director, and I have full confidence that he will be an even greater asset as our new superintendent. This comment is from Dr. Lee Conley, the principal at Eagle Valley Middle School. Dr. Conley wants to make it clear that he fully supports Mr. Fueling as the best candidate for the next superintendent and provides the following reasons. He's a listener. He truly listens to the boots on the ground, including administrators, teachers, and district colleagues, always available and gets back to us in a timely manner. He is calm and collective, reflective and honest in his questions, suggestions, and leadership. He has a vast array of knowledge, budget, recruitment, scheduling needs, collaborating with many different audiences, all of which support the needs of an effective superintendent. He knows what is working well and is always open to considerations of improvement, but always willing to support this change. He is one of our own, and he has proven his value and effectiveness. That's just a bit of the list, but I hope it provides you a bit of insight from a building principal's point of view. This comment is from Rachel Croft. Ms. Croft teaches at Bordewick Bray Elementary, and she feels that the best option for our superintendent would be to hire Andrew Fueling. Mr. Fueling has shown his commitment to our district through his years of service. With his financial background, he would be the best superintendent in the coming years with the freeze and squeeze our district will experience with the new funding formula from the state. While curriculum has not been his focus in his role as CFO, as a former teacher, he will be willing to educate himself on curriculum and instruction in any areas he is not familiar with. He showed a willingness to pitch and learn when he substituted in 5th grade in January. Please settle this question for the district rather than prolonging the search by starting over. This comment is from Miriam Castor. She's the library media specialist at Carson Middle School. She would like everyone to know that I believe it would be logical and effective to offer the superintendent position to the candidate who only just barely was not selected in the first round. We have we clearly have a second qualified candidate who, in my opinion, would be deserving of the job. This comment is from Karina Flansburgh, Carson City resident, parent of 3 children who were educated in the district. They are college graduates and professionals in their own communities. I'm a supporter of public education, and I know that working together as a team, parents, students, and educators can be successful. I have been involved as the Board of Trustees has worked diligently in searching for our next superintendent. I've listened to interviews, attended board meetings, and spoken with friends and colleagues. I feel sad that we are where we are today, and I believe we can do better as a whole. I am concerned that we didn't get what we paid for in the original nationwide search. The selection was thin. It had to be requested to include more of our local applicants, and background checks did not appear to be thorough. I'm also concerned that when it came time for the trustees to vote, the instructions as I understood them was for each trustee to vote for 2 candidates in no particular order. We had 2 trustees that voted for just 1 candidate. I believe that decision on their part is not to vote for 2 as requested changed the course of the eventual outcome. I can see that Mr. Fueling is a well-respected individual and that his work in finance department for the district appears to be outstanding. However, having been made a principal, and if I understand correctly, supervises a staff in the single digits, I find it a hard pill to swallow that jumping to the superintendent position where he will be expected to supervise a good number of principals is the right decision for our district. I think it is sad that we have not better prepared ourselves for the pending retirement of Mr. Stokes. We have known for quite some time that this was coming, and that he would need to be replaced. I would like to see Tasha Fuson, our current associate superintendent, serve as interim superintendent, and that you reopen the recruitment process, in doing so a higher recruiting firm. If that brings Mr. Fueling back to the top, then we have done our due diligence, and I will offer my full support. This comment comes from the staff at Eagle Valley Middle School, and there's approximately 40 names on here that staff members signed. This letter is in support of voting for an internal candidate as the next superintendent. Mr. Fueling has already shown dedication to our district, students, and families. He is an invested member of the community, both as a district leader and a parent of multiple students attending Carson City schools. If you speak to any staff member or student family, you will hear positive tones about his work ethic, professionalism, and approachability. Additionally, the district has been facing economic impacts in the coming years, and having someone with a fiscal services background would go a long way in collaborating with the legislature and other districts within the state. He has the knowledge and experience to guide our district forward as we face the unknown future of district funding. Although the board has previously voiced concerns about his lack of experience in the role of superintendent, Mr. Fueling adeptly tackles the district's budget and will bring that same fervor to the role of superintendent. In his commitment and dedication to the well-being of the staff, students, and families, we will humbly listen to the needs of the district and act in the best interests of all parties. He truly cares about the staff, the students, and the district as a whole, and this quality makes him the best qualified candidate for the position. Mr. Fueling has established open communication with all stakeholders within the district. He has always been available to the concerns of staff. He is willing to listen and provide specific feedback or provide a plan to progress forward. This open line of communication is a greatly valued trait that Mr. Fueling has demonstrated. We know that the board encourages district and community involvement within the decision-making. Please hear us now and know that our choice at Eagle Valley Middle School in the Carson City School District Superintendent is Mr. Fueling. Just saying. This comment is from Taylor Mandelli, a speech language pathologist. In consideration for the superintendent position, I would like the board to reconsider the top 5 candidates. I would also like them to particularly consider internal candidates, as these candidates would have the most understanding and investment in our school district. This comment is from Stacy Brady, teacher at Mark Twain Elementary, and also the parent of a current high school son and 2 graduated daughters, all 3 of whom have gone through the school district at all levels. I believe it makes the most sense to simply offer Mr. Fueling the superintendent position and to complete this grueling process in the most expedient manner. He was already chosen in a fair manner as a final candidate, which already makes him the #1 choice for the position. In addition, as an educator in the district, I know him to be highly qualified, much respected, and well-suited for the position. And as a parent, I know him to be very dedicated to our district, both as a parent and as an employee. I am certain he will put every ounce of energy and effort into making our district worthy of our children. Please do not prolong this process any further, but instead confirm the candidate who has already been chosen as a finalist. This comment is from Katie Griffin. As a former employee of the previous district where Dr. Goldhart was superintendent, while I did not work for Dr. Goldhart, I did work for 4 other superintendents in my 8 years of working in Manchester, the lowest performing district in our entire state, and the politics are such that they are constantly running superintendents out of town. I can't speak to Dr. Goldhart specifically, but I think you should be asking better questions and looking a little deeper. I live in the next town, so I get to see all the Manchester School Board meetings and hear all of the drama. It is my understanding that this man, like the many who came before him, tried to do right by the students in the city. His intentions seem true. To be constantly attacked by the school board and people going as far as leaving dog feces on the steps, who would want to work under those conditions? Is that how we treat people who we want to lead our schools and support our children? I see comments being made about all the technology that wasn't returned by students after COVID. This happened in every district, some more than others. We had no control over what happened during COVID. It was uncharted territory. I don't think it's fair to blame the superintendent for students breaking, losing, or not returning devices. If you don't want to hire someone, that is obviously your prerogative. At least seek the truth. Find someone who aligns with your philosophy, who puts children first, who is dedicated, who gets to know their staff, etc. And when you find that person, treat them right. I wish you all the best in your search for a superintendent. I was able to find an amazing school district to work in. One very important norm we developed that it sounds like your district should follow is no minority reports. When you find someone, people don't get to undermine the decision. You agree that the majority rules, and you will be supportive of whatever the majority decided on. Mr. Varner, let me go to the emails, please. This comment is from Heather Partee. I just want to express my disappointment in the handling of appointing Dr. Goldhart. I feel he was discouraged rather than encouraged by the board in welcoming him to his new position. I think he would have been an asset to have as superintendent and was going to do a lot of positive things for our kids and our district. This comment is from Lisa Partee. Well, it's just amazing to me that after a majority of the public, as well as a majority of the school board, voted to offer a contract to Dr. Goldhart, and at the meeting to negotiate a contract, your trustees went on a tirade against Dr. Goldhart's character. It was clear that out of the 6 candidates, he was the only one that wanted what was best for the students, and he had the experience to help us get out of the bottom ranking in the U.S. But no, 2 trustees decided on March 22nd to rehash the hiring process and insult Dr. Goldhart to the point of his not wanting to continue further with the process. They projected their No Kids First agenda onto Dr. Goldhart. How can you blame him? They insulted him, said the district would have regret with Dr. Goldhart, and tried to rehash the choice to offer him the job, all because they didn't get their way with their choice of superintendent. They just tried to stop the negotiating process at step 1. Shameful. The 2 trustees were named in the paper, and we all know who they are, even with the attorney and trustee Wilkie attempting to bring them back to the business at hand of negotiating a contract and providing the motions needed, the two trustees did everything they could to insult and disqualify the choice already made for this superintendent. The only adversarial conduct I witnessed was done by the trustees. I feel that the two trustees need to tender their resignation immediately. They have shown time and time again that their best interests are not the same as what is best for our children. Now our kids lose again, and if they are allowed to bring their second place choice, then that just supports and encourages what they've done. This should not be allowed to stand. This comment is from Jody Swarzik. Our district has spent too much time and money on the superintendent contract. I do not know how many commenters believe there were no red flags with the whole process engaging with Dr. Goldhart. He was not vetted properly. His response to his contract raised many concerns. Mr. Fueling has been with the district for 8 years and has done a stellar job. He has worked under Richard Stokes, lives in our community, and tied with Dr. Goldhart. The best move for our district is to hire Mr. Fueling and move forward for the betterment of our students. This comment is from Chris Hankins, a math teacher at Eagle Valley Middle School. As an educator watching on TV, I'm saddened that the board is trying to satisfy those who scream the loudest for change. What is worst, most are the same people who are complaining about the mask for so long with it that their study can, with any study they can find to just get back on the agenda. Now here we are again, same people complaining, different item. Listening to the comments from each board member, it seems like now some want to change their tune about who they want to hire because of the people who are screaming the loudest again. If you feel you did not do their job correctly the first time, then maybe you should step down immediately so someone else can come in and do the job correctly. Please quit moving the goalpost every time you think the need to. Quit listening to the same minority of people who complain about the newest item and focused on the majority. This is getting ridiculous, and you're making the school district look bad. This comment is from Brian Peterson, an educator at Seeliger Elementary School. As an educator in Carson City, I've been disparaged and discouraged by some of the comments made at the school board meeting recently. I know that myself and my colleagues work hard to educate and inform our students on the standards. Thank you to those individuals who have made statements recognizing this effort. I would encourage the board to listen to the teachers, staff, and parents in support of AJ. Now is the time to show support for our students and staff. We are in unsure times regarding funding, local cost of living, and community support. It is not hard to see this district losing valuable and highly effective staff members. Now is the time for the board to stand up for all of us and appoint AJ. This comment is from Christine Sylvester. It is deeply disappointing how the March 22nd meeting was conducted. Board members, I don't know this word. Anyways, the negotiation proposals for Dr. Goldhart. This puts an unfortunate glare on Mr. Fueling as he fills the position. I urge the board to allow the opportunity to earn the position of superintendent without the current appearance of subversion. AJ performed well in the process leading up to this day. Please allow him to compete openly for the position in the long term and put the rest of the questions of his legitimacy. This comment is from Jason Tingle, father of 4. Mr. Tingle was here in person but had to leave, so he's providing his observation. Our proficiency scores are as follows. EIA high school, 41.6%, middle school, 41%, elementary school, 48%, math elementary, 28.8%, middle school, 28.1%, high school, 39.7%. So I would like to say all of the teachers in attendance tonight, why a majority of our children are below proficient in this county. If it isn't them, then it's coming from the top. No. Either way, over half of our kids are failing or are not proficient. I see a lot of finger pointing tonight and a lot of fear of a newcomer coming to the district. So let's ask ourselves, do we need status quo to continue this nightmare? Or do we have to get an outsider who is not a good old boy of Carson City School District? We need an outsider to help clean it up. I find it obscene that trustees can openly break the rules and laws and just shrug it off as if nothing happened. Laurel Crossman got her way tonight as the majority. I will make it my life's mission to make sure that those two board members, Laurel Crossman and Mike Walker, to have their bonds pulled and their seats filled. I only heard two people on that board tonight, the voice of reason. Believe me, the community saw everything and we are sickened by it. Good luck getting any support in the future. This comment is from Linda Herzl. As a community member as well as a business owner since 1981, I'm a former teacher in the district also. I'm in favor of offering Mr. Fueling the job of superintendent. I feel AJ should be offered the same contract as Dr. Goldhart. I don't think we should spend more money on a new search. I would also like to say thank you to the board for your work. And Mr. Stokes, thank you for everything you've done. This comment is from Ann Sear. She wishes she were here, but unfortunately unable to participate in person. She's had the opportunity of serving this community as the risk manager of the district for the past 7 years. I was inspired to leave the private sector and join the Carson City School District in large part because of the fantastic leadership team, Mr. Fueling being a prominent member of that team. Let me assure you, in my 24 years of working at insurance companies, I understand the good old boy system. The leadership team of the district is anything but, and the community would be exceptionally fortunate to have Mr. Fueling as their superintendent. Thank you for considering the importance of this service to the community, his excellent reputation in the fiscal community, and the educational community at large. To lose such institutional knowledge would be a tremendous loss. He has the vision and drive to make the difference so that many are calling for. Please give him the opportunity. This comment is from Rebecca Allen. As an educator in the district, I just want to take a moment to thank Mr. Stokes for his excellent leadership over the years. Mr. Stokes has served in a challenging position and has done so with respect, kindness, and dignity. I'd also like to express my appreciation and support to the board. Thank you for stepping up and pressing forward in these difficult times. Please know that your efforts do not go unnoticed. This comment is from Darian Tenorio. As I listened to tonight's meeting, the majority of comments are negative and blaming the system for the kids failing. At what point will parents also take responsibility to their kids' education? The educators can only do so much. Education needs parents to take part in their kids' future. As for the past meetings, the public needs to stop beating a dead horse. What's done is done. The trustees cannot change the past, only learn from it and move forward in a positive direction. I applaud the trustees for their dedication to the children of Carson City. I also applaud Mr. Fueling for staying in the room while being verbally abused. AJ would make an excellent superintendent for the district. This comment is from Ryan Mick. He's a kindergarten teacher through second grade comprehensive life skills at Fremont, and he loves what he does. Every second of every day, I love what I do. I love the people that I work with, the staff that support our classroom every day, the administrators that support myself and every individual at Fremont, and I love the kids. Each of my students has their own struggles to overcome, their own challenges that they face, and yet every single day they come to school with a smile on their face, and they are welcomed with open arms, and they try harder than I have ever seen anyone try in my life. With all the negativity thrown out at these meetings and in the world, I think it's important to remember that despite it all, there are kids who love nothing more than coming to school and trying. And I'm honored to be a part of the district, a school, and a classroom where I can try just as hard as the amazing kids and the people who support them. This comment is from Raymond Medeiros, the Director of Information Technology. Mr. Medeiros is writing in full support of Mr. Fueling as the next superintendent of the district. The board selected Dr. Goldhart, but he subsequently rejected our offer. Our number 2 candidate is Mr. Fueling. To offer the position to Mr. Fueling would be the next logical step. To go back out and start the process over would be a tremendous demoralizer. Our message would be that even though we were vetted and identified as qualified, you will still not be selected because you are an internal employee. I do not think that's the message that you want to spread. Mr. Fueling is a member of our community, a parent of children in our district, and an effective workaholic when it comes to supporting our students, parents, and employees. A big thank you to the trustees for all their work that they do for the district moving forward. This comment is from Andrea Card. She's writing in support of Mr. Fueling as superintendent of Carson City Schools. I have 3 children who attend Carson City Schools, and I am in full support of a member of our community to fill this important role for our schools. I know that the board acted in the best interest of our children, teachers, and community in their recent decisions, and I stand with the teachers and administrators who have confidence in Mr. Fueling in the role of superintendent. Please move the motion forward in giving Mr. Fueling the chance to lead the change that our schools deserve. This comment is from Wendy Nichols. Wendy is writing in support of hiring Mr. Fueling for Carson City School District Superintendent. I believe Mr. Fueling to be a viable candidate for the position, and to go elsewhere outside of the district would be foolish. Mr. Fueling has earned respect in the district, and that is no small feat. I would also make it clear to the board that the pocket of community members with the loudest voices who complain each week at meetings are not the voice of the community at large. The community appreciates Mr. Stokes' service and the board's service in their thankless positions. The community knows that both Mr. Stokes and the board have been making the best decisions for the children in Carson City. I believe, as do other community members, that Mr. Fueling will do the same. Finally, there are members of the community that speak each week at the meetings that have erroneously equated not getting their way with the current superintendent and board as poor leadership. Quite the contrary, strong leaders make difficult decisions for all and not just for a group that asserts themselves the most often. This community trusts the board to make the decisions that is optimal for all community members and the children of Carson City. This comment is from Hillary Mendigia. She's an 8th grade teacher, Carson Middle. Please do not waste more money and prolong the process of hiring a new superintendent. AJ Fueling is a qualified candidate and has proven his dedication to the district. This comment is from Ariel Hines. I was unable to attend the meeting, but wanted to express my full support for Mr. Fueling for the next superintendent of our district. The board has been given another opportunity to make the decision to appoint the right candidate that has been the best interest of all staff, students, and community. Please make the right decision and select Mr. Fueling as superintendent tonight. Carson City School District staff and students deserve the best, and that is Mr. Fueling. Mr. Varner, that's all I have. Thank you.
She does not want to talk anymore. But thank you, Renee. That was, I know, long, but thank you very much. And before we move on, I'd just like to thank all the community members who showed up tonight, all the staff. We'd invite the staff and other community members to come and join us anytime you want. We truly appreciate it. So moving on, we have a motion that was made by Don. It's been a while since the motion was made, so I'll reread it. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve Mr. Andrew Fueling as the next superintendent of the Carson City School District and direct the president to offer the terms of the contract approved at the March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Board of Trustees. At this point, I would call for a vote. All in, sure.
Just just one additional comment or discussion if the board would like to discuss anything more, but one thing that occurred to me while we were listening to public comment as well is that we are coming up on a legislative session in February, and were we to hire an interim or delay reopening it in 6 months, that would leave us ill-prepared to address the hold harmful and to make some changes legislatively that could possibly benefit the district. So I think that I'm in favor of making a decision at this time so that we are prepared as a district for the upcoming legislative session as well.
And just as a reminder, this motion was made by Mr. Carini and seconded by Mr. Walker. So at this time, I would call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say nay. Seeing none, the motion passes. Congratulations.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Rich?
Joe, go ahead.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Sure.
I want to thank everybody in the room, the board, the public, all the public, whether or not I agreed with people or not. This was difficult. We really, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think it's safe to say we really want to hear from people and understand things. And oftentimes this room is pretty quiet. And I try to, in my own way, keep things a little lighthearted by cracking jokes. Some fall flat, some don't. And so I think early on I made a comment about add a little controversy and people show up, and that is somewhat true. But getting people in here is important, and we need to hear from people. So thank you for showing up. Thanks for casting your opinion. You know, I started tonight truly on the fence. Didn't sleep well all week thinking about this. We get to meet again next week. That'll be fun. And, you know, but what I gained out of this is this whole process went through. We did have a very close vote. I don't believe anybody up here, I'm not an attorney, did anything wrong. People had some strong opinions. I may not have been thrilled with the way things necessarily occurred, but I don't believe anything was wrong, and I respect all my trustees, my fellow trustees. It's a tough position to be in. We had a split vote, 4-3. Mr. Fueling was a very close second round or runner-up candidate. We did a community survey. He stood out well there. So it wasn't a big leap to say, let's give him a chance. Whoever the next superintendent was going to be, and I believe we had more than 2 qualified candidates. That was the hard part, is we had a lot of qualified candidates. And I appreciate that. And going forward, what I'm going to do is work with, I was going to say that no matter what happened, whoever the new superintendent is, I'm going to work with that new superintendent, because I do think we have to create some measures and some accountability and things like that that we can track, that are fair to track. But I think the new superintendent deserves that. And so congratulations to Mr. Fueling. Thank you to my fellow board members. This wasn't easy. I respect all of you for, you know, what you've done up here and what you continue to try to do. This isn't easy. And a lot of people had a chance to run for office, run for these offices as trustees, and very few did. So anyway, thanks everybody.
Rich, you know, one of the things I want to say is, for the first time since I've been on the board, I feel like I've been hearing from staff who feel disenfranchised. And I think it's great to see you back in the room, and the truth is the truth. And we have to speak our truth. And yeah, there's a lot of ratings for states in their education. And there's a lot of factors that teachers and principals and superintendents can't control. Most of those ratings revolve around education level of parents and the quality of their jobs, which in a state like Nevada, which has a huge hospitality workforce, We're always going to battle that. And then you couple with that nobody in the state wants to pay taxes, including every single person in this room. And we have an underfunded education system. And at some point, we have to put our money where our mouth is. And I can only speak for myself, but for the fellow educators in the room, I see you. I know how hard it is for you right now to keep your eyes open. And tomorrow morning, some of you kindergarten teachers are going to be catching chairs in the air before they hit somebody else. That's what happens. That's what we do. We get the kids out of the room, calm the situation down, and we start right back up. You know, and that's what we're going to do with Mr. Fueling as he accepts this contract. But seriously, we got to pick up the pieces. I value the opinions of the people who don't agree with me. It doesn't mean that I agree with them. It doesn't change what I know to be true. And what I know to be true is that students always come first for our employees in this district and our district administration. And that includes this school board. So for the people saying that this isn't student-centered, they are wrong. So I will respectfully disagree. We do everything we do for the students around here. So thank you, teachers, staff, administrators.
Thank you, Mike. I would just add to that, I don't think anybody on this board would ever intentionally do anything that would negatively affect students or staff. A lot of decisions we have to make are hard choices. But I can tell you this, I have 2 grandkids going through the Carson City School District. I have a wife who's been a teacher here for 27 years. I see how hard she works. I see how hard all the teachers work. 8 o'clock at night, she sits down, her eyes are shut, she's asleep. And so I know that it's not for lack of trying if we are lagging behind, because I know all the teachers are working very, very hard. And everybody on this board, I think I can safely say, truly appreciates everything that all our staff, teachers, parapros, everybody, bus drivers, we all appreciate all the hard work that everybody does. And Mr. Fueling, I know you'll carry that forward, that message to the staff to let them know they are appreciated, and we do recognize that they are working hard. Thank you. Any other comment from the board at this time?
So Mr. Barner, just for the record, I wanted to verify it sounded like a 7-0 vote in favor of offering the contract to Mr. Fueling.
That is correct. Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. Comments be accepted in person or through can't even speak now, I'm sorry. Comments will be accepted in person or through virtual participation via email. Comments may be made by members of the public on any matter within the authority of this board. Please note that public comment will be taken on items marked for possible action before action is taken on such items, and members of the public are encouraged to comment on such items at the time they are being considered. Although members of the board may respond to questions and discuss issues raised during public comment, no action may be taken on such matters until the matter is placed on an agenda for action at a meeting of the board. In making public comment, speakers are asked to come to the table or podium, sign in, speak into the microphone, and identify themselves for the record. Speakers are instructed to limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes, regardless of whether the comments are made in person or through virtual participation, and to simply not repeat comments of others. At this point, we'll invite anybody that has public comment not related to item number 3 to please come forward. Do we have any online? Seeing no in-person public comment, we'll move on to any online public comment.
No, sir.
Well, here, read this. Seeing none, once again, thank everybody for coming. Thank the board for your work here. And at this point in time, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.